engine block, also referred to as the cylinder block or just plain the block. It's technically actually classified as what they call a monoblock. A monoblock pretty much just means that it is made out of one giant chunk of metal, and all the holes are milled out of that one piece to make it stronger. Back in the day, between about 1880 and about 1920, the cylinder blocks were made out of cast iron, and they were made separately. So each cylinder was its own production, and then they were all bolted together to make whatever your 4-cylinder, your 6-cylinder engines like that. Henry Ford in 1908 started the first monoblock, and he had it in his Model T, and by 1920, it was pretty common across the globe. So if you start building a vehicle, you're pretty much always going to start with the engine block. That is going to be the biggest bulk of your engine, and pretty much every other component that is in the engine is going to be attached or bolted or connected somehow to the engine block. There's also going to be a few items that are actually going to be inside of the engine block, like the pistons, the crankshaft, and all of the cylinders. So most vehicles are usually between about a 4-cylinder and a 12-cylinder, but probably more between 4, 6, and 8. Pretty much if your cylinders are all in a line in one straight shot, then that means it's going to be an inline, and then how many cylinders are inline 4, inline 6. Then they came up with the V, so then it had cylinders on both sides of the V. Therefore, that's where you got the V8, the V6, and vehicles like that. So a typical engine block consists of the cylinder block, which is pretty much going to be the whole big top part with all of the big holes included, which are the cylinders. So that whole top part is going to be your cylinder block. Each single big hole there is going to be a cylinder, which inside that will be the piston. Inside of each cylinder will be a cylinder lining, which reduces the friction between the pistons and the outside of the cylinder. There's also going to be smaller holes, as you see up there. Those are actually for oil to be running through there to keep everything lubricated, and the other holes will be actually for water to be going through there, or coolant, in order to cool down the engine, which we'll go into that more when we go into the coolant system. Then at the bottom of your engine block is going to be your crankcase, which houses the crankshaft, which pretty much sends all of that motion into the transmission and into your wheels. And lastly will be the cylinder head, which pretty much goes on top of the engine block and will kind of enclose all of that together. Therefore, there will be the combustion chamber in there. Also will be the spark plugs coming from the top and the fuel ejectors coming from the top as well. Also in there will be the camshaft, the head gaskets, and the intake and exhaust manifolds. So there's a quick run through of the engine block. It's pretty much going to be the heart of the engine where everything pretty much takes place. All the combustion, the air goes in, the fuel goes in, the injectors spark it. Pretty much all the main things that get your engine going are going to be based on the engine block. So stay tuned next week while we dive deeper into learning about your engine.